Love pizza but trying to stick to a low-carb diet? What if I told you that you could enjoy a delicious, crispy pizza without the guilt? Today, we're diving deep into the world of keto pizza, showing you how to make the perfect low-carb crust right at home, with some amazing tips to make your pizza night unforgettable. Hey there, pizza lovers! If you're like me, sticking to a low-carb diet can be tough, especially when it means giving up your favorite comfort foods like pizza. But what if I told you that you don't have to say goodbye to that cheesy, delicious slice? Today, I'm sharing how you can make a keto pizza crust that's not just a substitute, it's a game changer. Trust me, this crust is so good, you might prefer it over the real thing. Let's dive in and turn your pizza night into a guilt-free keto feast. When it comes to keto pizza crusts, there are a few routes you can take, depending on your taste and what's in your pantry. My personal favorite has to be the Fathead pizza crust. If you haven't heard of it, Fathead dough is like the holy grail of keto baking. It's made with mozzarella cheese, cream cheese, almond flour, and an egg. Simple ingredients that, when combined, create a crust that's crispy on the outside and soft on the inside. The first time I made a Fathead crust, I was skeptical. Cheese as a base for dough, but one bite in, and I was hooked. The key is to melt the cheese just enough to make it smooth and pliable, not oily. Another great option is the cottage cheese pizza crust. This one's a bit different. A protein powerhouse. It's made with cottage cheese, eggs, and almond flour, giving it a lighter texture with a slightly tangy flavor that pairs beautifully with fresh toppings. And hey, if you're in a rush, there's no shame in going with a store-bought option like Pizza 73's Keto Crust. It's a convenient choice for those busy nights when you want a keto-friendly meal without the extra prep. Let's talk about the key ingredients that make these keto crusts work so well. First up, almond flour. It's a staple in keto baking, low in carbs, high in healthy fats, and it gives you that satisfying, nutty flavor without overpowering the dish. Almond flour is much easier to work with than coconut flour in pizza crusts because it doesn't absorb as much moisture, making it ideal for this recipe. Then there's the cheese, mozzarella, cream cheese, and cottage cheese. These aren't just here for flavor, they're essential for that doughy, satisfying texture. Mozzarella and cream cheese make the Fathead dough elastic and chewy, while cottage cheese in the other crust adds a bit of protein and a unique flavor. And eggs, they're the glue that holds everything together and adds richness to the dough. Let's get into making these crusts. For the Fathead crust, you'll need 1.5 cups of shredded mozzarella, 2 tablespoons of cream cheese, 1 cup of almond flour, and 1 beaten egg. Melt the mozzarella and cream cheese together in the microwave for about a minute, stirring until smooth. Mix in the almond flour and egg. If the dough feels too sticky, pop it in the fridge for a few minutes. Roll the dough out between 2 pieces of parchment paper, then bake at 425 degrees Fahrenheit, 220 degrees Celsius for 12 minutes or until golden brown. For the cottage cheese crust, blend 1 cup of cottage cheese with 2 eggs and 3/4 cup of almond flour until smooth. Spread the mixture onto a parchment-lined baking sheet and shape it however you like. Bake at 400 degrees Fahrenheit, 200 degrees Celsius for 15-20 minutes or until the edges are golden and the center is firm. The trick with this crust is to let it cool a bit before adding your toppings. That way it holds up better under the toppings. Remember, baking times can vary depending on your oven, so keep an eye on the crusts. You want them golden brown and firm to the touch. Now that you've got your crust, let's talk toppings. This is where you can really get creative while staying keto-friendly. For the sauce, you can't go wrong with a simple, low-carb tomato sauce. I like to make my own by simmering tomatoes with garlic, basil, and a pinch of red pepper flakes. But if you're short on time, a good quality store-bought sauce works too. Just check the label for hidden sugars. Toppings are where the magic happens. Some of my favorites include pepperoni, sausage, grilled chicken, mushrooms, spinach, olives, and of course, more cheese. One combo I can't get enough of is spicy sausage, sautéed mushrooms, and fresh basil. And for that finishing touch, drizzle a little olive oil or MCT oil over the top. It really brings out the flavors. Pair your keto pizza with a fresh avocado salad or roasted garlic broccoli. These sides add a nice contrast to the richness of the pizza and keep the meal light and satisfying. Even with all these tips, there are a few common pitfalls to watch out for. One biggie is overloading your crust with toppings. Trust me, I've been there. Piling on too much can weigh down the crust and make it soggy. Instead, go for a balanced approach. A little bit of each topping goes a long way. Another thing to watch out for is not letting the crust cool before adding your toppings. I know it's hard to wait, but giving the crust a few minutes to set will help it stay crisp under all those toppings. And always double check your ingredients, especially if you're using store-bought sauces or meats. Some can sneak in extra carbs that you might not expect. If something goes wrong, like your crust is too soft or too dry, don't panic. If it's too soft, bake it a bit longer after adding the toppings. If it's too dry, try adding a bit more cheese or an extra egg to the dough next time. Even though these keto crusts are pretty straightforward, there are a few troubleshooting tips that can help you achieve the perfect crust every time. For the Fathead crust, if you find that your dough is too sticky to handle, try adding a little more almond flour, a tablespoon at a time, until it becomes easier to work with. Alternatively, chilling the dough for 10-15 minutes in the fridge can make it more manageable. On the other hand, if your cottage cheese crust is coming out too dense or not cooking evenly, it could be because of excess moisture in the cottage cheese. Try draining the cottage cheese using a fine mesh strainer or cheesecloth before mixing it with the other ingredients. This small step can make a big difference in the texture of your crust. One of the great things about keto pizza crusts is their versatility. Don't be afraid to experiment with variations to keep things interesting. For instance, you can swap out almond flour for sunflower seed flour if you have a nut allergy, or if you're just looking to try something new. Sunflower seed flour has a similar consistency to almond flour and works just as well in these recipes. Another fun twist is to add some shredded Parmesan or cheddar cheese to the Fathead dough for a bolder flavour. Or, for a little extra kick, mix in some chopped jalapenos or crushed red pepper flakes. And if you're a fan of herbs, try incorporating fresh chopped rosemary or thyme into the dough. Herbs can add an earthy depth that pairs perfectly with a variety of toppings. For the cottage cheese crust, consider blending in a handful of fresh spinach or some finely chopped herbs like basil or oregano. This not only adds flavour but also boosts the nutritional content of your pizza. Plus, it's a sneaky way to get more greens into your diet. And there you have it. A complete guide to making keto pizza crusts that'll have you wondering why you ever ate regular pizza in the first place. Whether you're into the cheesy goodness of a Fathead crust or the protein-packed punch of a cottage cheese crust, there's something here for everyone. So go ahead, give these recipes a try and make your pizza night a keto-friendly celebration. And hey, don't be shy. Share your creations with us. I'd love to see how you top your keto pizza. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more keto recipes, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. Happy cooking, and I'll see you in the next video. Here's a little extra tip for you. If you're making the cottage cheese crust and find it's a bit too soft for your liking, try adding a tablespoon of psyllium husk powder to the mix. It helps bind the ingredients together and gives the crust a bit more structure. And for the Fathead crust, a sprinkle of garlic powder and Italian seasoning in the dough before baking can really amp up the flavour. Give it a shot. You won't be disappointed.